with it. What, Mountain Valley? What do you need? Go on.
Saratoga.
Their attention to arms and their chests
And their skin.
and their skin. Now, they're obviously extreme.
Welcome. Join the live, man. I had to remove the trolls, bruh. Had to get them up out of here.
YouTube is making a major change to the way that they count views on your videos publicly, and it's also going to affect your YouTube analytics. Now, one of the most important things I can tell you is this does not affect your YouTube monetization. There is an update for YouTube monetization that I covered in a live stream. I'll also be making a dedicated.
Strange things are happening in America. First, we'll go to Los Angeles, where scientists have just announced that the ground beneath Southern California is under more stress than at any time in the past 1,000 years, and that a major earthquake is coming. Then, we'll go to Las Vegas, where people have already stopped paying with cards and started paying with their own bodies. 1 in 10 shoppers there is already using biometric payments. Then we'll go to San Francisco, where people are lining up to have their eyes scanned by a machine in exchange for digital money and a new kind of identity called proof of human. And finally, we'll go to Atlanta, where the food bank is now feeding 240,000 households every single month in the richest nation on earth, because hunger in America has reached its highest level in more than a decade. 4 cities, 4 very different stories, and yet every one of them matches something the Bible said would mark the last days. Earthquakes, a system controlling buying and selling, deception, and famine. Let's start in Southern California. In June of this year, scientists published a new study on the 2 biggest fault systems in the region: the San Andreas Fault and the San Jacinto Fault. These researchers modeled 1,000 years of earthquake history, and their finding was simple and sobering. The stress built up on these faults is now higher than at any point in the past 1,000 years. They used the phrase critically loaded. They also found something else. Northeast of Los Angeles, near San Bernardino, there's a place called the Cajon Pass, where these 2 fault systems meet. Scientists are calling it an earthquake gate. It's the junction that...
We're going to talk a little bit about Nolan Wells. Now, I haven't made a shorter commentary version video of this, because this topic, as you're going to see throughout this...
Thank you. Appreciate that, Adrian.
It's very unfleshed out. It's very unfleshed out. There's so much mystery, and there's so much... people are saying it happened here, people are saying it didn't happen here, and that in itself does tell us a lot, though. So it starts with Nolan Wells' mother having a problem. Her son goes missing. Nolan Wells, he goes out on a boat. He goes to an island called the Horn Island. This is in the Mississippi area. And his friends come back. Nolan Wells does not come back. 2 days later, they find Nolan Wells. He's scrapped, right? So, the mother doesn't like how they're moving in the investigation. The autopsy comes back inconclusive. The 3 friends say, hey, they got back, and, they didn't come back with Nolan. And this is the next part, close to 4. And Nolan's phone and his keys got back with the friends, but they weren't on Nolan's person. So Nolan Nolan always has his phone on him. He's a youth. That boy, he's a teen. He was about 18. 18-year-old you see without their phone. So I was like, no, this is strange. Ain't that right, police said. She said, ain't that right, police? They said, huh? Oh, yeah. She said, no. Don't even worry about none of that. Don't worry about none of that. She gets her own independent autopsy, and she started telling people. She started voicing her concern. She started shouting it out to the rooftops. Excuse me, my son went on a boating trip. He didn't come back, and they kind of dragging their feet. They not on it like with the fire and fury that you usually see in an investigation like this. Oh, excuse me, did I forget to mention the fact that Nolan Wells is black, and I don't know where the ethnicity his mother is specifically, but let's just say Nolan Wells isn't white. The people around him, his friends that went with him, are white. That is...
He's black and Filipino.
Oh, black and Filipino. Okay, his mother's Filipino, I believe. That matters. Okay, that matters. All right, hey, look. We've been in the world for a while. For the folks in the United States, we've been in the United States. Well, it matters. Let's just be real here. So she's, you know, and for those of you who may not understand this, if you're a black Filipino, if you're of a quote-unquote ethnic background, you never know why someone isn't, let's say, treating an investigation the same you've seen them treat certain investigations on the news, let's say. God forbid something happens to a family member, right, and the police start dragging their feet. The sad part is, I'm sitting at home, and I'm like, wow, if we were white, would they have done this a lot quicker?
The answer is yes.
Well, and here this part, next part, I also say, you know, those were his friends, but they were all white. I just, why all the white kids make it back, but my kid, the black kid, didn't make it back? Man, that's something I'm thinking about, okay? Does that have something to do with it? That's what I'm asking myself. I believe this is part of the reason the case blows up, okay? Because these are questions that people are, now, to people's credit, people aren't screaming off the top of the rooftop, hey, this happened because he's black. No, right? People, it's just something that's...
That's a weird thing that happened.
It's just weird. This is just weird, okay? This is just a weird thing that happened, okay? So, you know, all that being said, let's go a little further along into the story. So the situation is just getting a little out of hand. But all that being said, the question still remains. Hold on, what happened to Nolan Wells? It's so strange because, you know, Nancy Grace is a huge proponent of finding the truth here in this situation.
She's a journalist, TV host.
She's a journalist, TV host, and, you know, I'm watching her videos, you know, interviewing people, and oh my goodness, she Nancy Grace she be going hard.
Oh, Nancy Grace is on the case.
But we're gonna get to her in a second. So there are a couple hard lines here, okay? There's those kids, those friends, excuse me, kids, my fault. Those men made it back without their friend Nolan Wells. Why? Okay, so you ask the friends. Okay, the friends say, look, Nolan was with a girl named Katie. Remember that name? Nolan was with a girl named Katie. He said he was going to stay behind and hang out with her. We left at 5 o'clock because our boat was having problems. In fact, we called the Mississippi Department of something to help us with our boat at 4 o'clock. They checked the call records. They checked the call. Yes, they actually did call at 4 o'clock saying they're having boat issues. Great. They say, okay, so when was Nolan with Katie and all that? And I say, they say, and I was referring to police, but excuse me, let me not give them massive credit because I don't know what they asked. I don't know what they didn't ask. Remember, there's hard lines here. All right, you ask the friends, all right, so when did you see Nolan last? They say, we told him we're leaving. He wanted to hang out with a girl, and he said he's going to go back with some other, because they didn't go with just them. It wasn't just those friends. It was actually a big group of people who went on a few different boats. So they said this happens all the time. Nolan is going to go, Nolan said he was going to go on another boat. We said, fine. We went home. Okay. That being said, a little side note, Katie's sister comes out and says, nah. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, pretty sure Nolan went back with them. That just, and Katie's statement wasn't out yet. You know, Katie's statement is going to be very, very covered up by police. Like, that's a huge statement right there. That's pretty much going to tell you how this investigation is going to go or not. So they're adamant that he stayed with Katie. So now we got to go to Katie. Katie, did he stay with you or did he go with them? You know, this is one of those things where it's like this has to be solved in a sense. Okay. we're having, again, hard lines. What I mean by hard lines is there are facts here. Okay, they go to Katie and say, did he stay with you or did he go with them? What happened? Okay, and she says, oh snap, that means they're lying. Okay, now we figure out why they're lying. And she says, he stayed with me. Okay, it gets a little more complicated, right? He stayed with me. That means the friends. Okay. He went with the friend. The friends went by themselves. They're telling the truth. They went by themselves. This is something that we could figure out. Okay. If Katie started talking about something, I don't remember this and that. Oh snap! That gives answers too. Okay, you might be in on this. You see what I'm saying? So there's some things that we must get answers from. Like this probably isn't going to be one of those cold, mysterious cases, because there are people who made factual statements here, and they must stick behind these factual statements. There's no back. So these friends say they get to the crib, and I forget the main friend they're talking about. It's like his BFM. I think his name is Nathan Weber. Can you look that up for me? For now, I'm just gonna call him Nathan until Amanda corrects me or lets me go on. So Nathan is chilling at the crib, and somebody hits him up, and they said, where's Nolan at? You heard from Nolan? Nathan said, nah, I ain't heard from Nolan. That's kind of weird. I'm going to call the Coast Guard.
The only friends that I see are Warren, Tristan, Aaron.
Oh, Warren. Warren was the guy's name. So Warren calls the Coast Guard. He says, nah, we haven't found my friend. They said, he wasn't at the island. They said that's a little strange. Okay, so a lot of speculation is coming out from a lot of different parts of the story. The family's lawyer believes, and their lawyer is Ben Crump, by the way, Amanda.
Oh.
Yeah, so some people consider him, what do they call it, an ambulance chaser or something like that. He jumps on cases that
are high profile.
Are high profile? Is it something?
Yeah, and usually have to do with some type of injustice.
Okay. Now, this isn't my belief. I don't know. That being said, Ben Crump is on the case, and Ben Crump said he believes Nathan Wells actually went back to friends. He believes that Nathan Wells, that's why the phone and the keys were found with the friends when they got back. He believes Nathan actually went back. Something happened to him then. But that is, again, speculation. Something that counters that point is another piece of speculation that we're going to go back to in a second. And I'm going to tie all this in together for you after I give you all these facts, because this is a twist and turny type story. I'm going to give you the other piece of speculation we're going to go back to in a second. Okay. So going back to Warren calls. They are looking for Nathan. Nobody can find Nathan. There's a couple of authorities, people on the island look for Nathan. Nobody can find Nathan. They find him 2 days later. Again, at that point, he had already passed. And that goes to why an autopsy might be difficult, because the state of the body after 2 days, there's water involved. It becomes a little more difficult to determine things. That being said, both the state's autopsy was at the moment, or they haven't released everything that they found yet, and the independent autopsy revealed something similar, but they found a red discoloration on the back of his head. Now, when they say stuff like inconclusive, that doesn't mean that they didn't find anything and nothing happened. They just don't quite know what happened, let's say. Okay, they might be waiting on different reports here and there. A side note, the independent person who did the autopsy said, I'm going to paraphrase here, the state's investigation, they didn't like go hard. The state didn't do like the max autopsy that you could do. He said, let me just let y'all know. That's what the independent autopsy person said. Now, they found red discoloration on the back of his head, and that could be like bruising, or he got hit somewhere. That's me saying that. So Nancy Grace is basically alluding to the same thing when she's asking people about. And the tough part is the people she's asking about this red discoloration are people of science, okay? And I understand people of science because I am / was one of those people where it's anything's possible, so you can't say things for certain. But Nancy is trying to get to the answer, so she's talking to people of science. She's talking to people about this red discoloration, and they're saying, yeah, they couldn't determine this and that, so they couldn't. Nancy like, no, and Nancy started cussing about it. It's hilarious. Nancy Grace at one point tells this lady, she's like, what did you say? This lady's like, I just said it's
You ain't
can't
that important.
determine what the red discoloration might have meant, but at the same time, listen to this part. Listen to this part. This is what Nancy clocked. At the same time, he didn't have any bruise marks on his hands, so we're pretty sure he didn't get in a fight. Nancy's like, I'm gonna let you sit in the corner and think about what you said, and she goes on. She goes on to talk to somebody else.
Oh.
And what Nancy was saying was, how can you say that you couldn't determine something based on red discoloration, red bruising, but at the same time, you can determine something when you didn't see red bruising on his hand? Okay, it's a little tricky there. So let me just put it to you this way. Nancy's saying she didn't like the inconsistencies in discovery. Okay, the next person she brought on says, to defend the last person, okay, that is basically what we kind of do here when we're looking at autopsy and all that. We didn't find any marks on the hand, so he didn't get into a scrap. But we did find, but then Nancy stops. Again, she's saying, I'm not trying to hear all that. Basically, Nancy's alluding to, like, she don't like all this whole, like, these minced words type thing. Yap. She's saying, you are making a hard read. You're saying, okay, he didn't get into a scrap because we didn't see red marks on the hand. You're saying that is, yes, he did not get into a scrap. But then you're saying, at the same time, you're not going to make a hard read off something that looks like a hard read to me, is what she's saying. You see a red mark on the back of his head. That looks suspicious. But you're going to sit there and say, that's inconclusive. But what we can't conclude is he did. She's like, hi. She's like, that's her problem basically with people of, let's say, science in a sense, or those two people specifically. As she was talking to, she was saying, how y'all gonna make hard statements on certain things, but not just speak plainly? Some look a little suspicious. Some look off, right? But y'all talking like nothing. Y'all talking like nothing. She's like, nah, we gotta speak clearly and plainly here. She's like, and you're 100% positive. Just because you didn't see anything on his hands, he couldn't have gotten to a scrap. He could have. He's like, I'm not. I'm not. You were just positive a second ago. She's like, what's going on? You know, she's going through this with the many people that she's interviewing. Basically, she seems pretty fed up in the sense of, she's like, I'm trying to find answers here, but everybody coming out talking about something. We don't know this. We don't know. She's like, what's y'all? She's like, something weird. She's like, am I being gaslit?
Oh, like what do y'all know then?
Yeah, Nancy looking around. She's like, am I being gaslit here? Why everybody talking about this situation like it's not a weird occurrence? Like, and she's saying this and stuff. She's like, he goes with his friends. Boy turned him missing. His friends go back. Everybody starts chilling. She's like, what?
That's kind of weird.
She's like, nah. She's like, what's going on? Everybody starts talking about some. Nah, we don't know. I mean, I don't know what happened to him. He had some red marks on his hair. I don't know. This is a little crazy, and everybody on interview start talking like I'm the off one, you know. And I feel her there because I'm doing the research on this, and I'm seeing people, talk about the science of it. And again, I'm a man of science as well, but I ain't no fool. All right, what's going on here? Like we gotta be real here. You know what I'm saying? Like, we could talk about science all day. We can talk about we can't make conclusive things. Sure. But at the same vein, at the same time.
Let's look at this for what it is.
Well, let's look at it for what it is. This seemed a little odd. I don't think he was just stumbling up and then blink of an eye, he just, something just happened to him and nobody knows. What you mean?
Yeah, doesn't sound the most plausible.
No, this is odd because he was on an island with a bunch of people. Even if y'all left him, friends, even if y'all left him, he was there with people. As you said, so nobody saw anything. All of a sudden, nobody know nothing.
Like, where's Scooby-Doo in the gang? We're trying to figure this out or not?
I'm trying to say, so, okay, let's fast forward a little bit. So after this situation, people are being interviewed, people are being talked to, after people are determining what's going on in the situation. Warren, friend, interestingly enough, is doing an interview. And I forget who he's doing this interview with. Can you look at it for me? Warren's doing an interview. Man, and it's interesting because I saw a comment say something, my sentiments. It was like, if I was a lawyer, I would not let my client Warren go on there and do an interview like this. Hey, look, this is an interesting move, let's just say. So he's doing an interview and he's answering questions, and this is no knock on him. This is no knock on Warren. But the whole interview basically seemed like it was just him trying to clear his name. This is no knock. This is no knock on him, because at the end of the day, he could have not had anything to do with the situation.
Officer Tatum?
Oh, yeah, Officer Tatum. Yeah, Officer Tatum. That was the interview show he was doing. He genuinely could have nothing to do with the situation. We have to see what happens when we get the evidence. Okay, look, I'm not with the people just straight up jumping to conclusions. Yes, we see what we see, but we can also be of two minds, in a sense. Some look a certain way, that's for sure. But at the end of the day, there are so many variables to this case. We need to find, and this was Nancy Grace shout out, she shares my sentiments because she said the same thing. Well, actually, I can't say what she said because it's pretty intense. She basically said, I want to get the criminal. I want the criminal, basically, but we got to make sure we the right person, in a sense. That's always my sentiments, per se. Whenever I see people jump to things where they're like, nah, that person did it, nah, that person did it, maybe I'm petty. But I be thinking, what if the person who did it gets away? You know, that's
gonna irritate me.
That would irritate me. That would irritate me. You know, that's not like justice to me. Everybody could like high five and be like we did, but I feel like that's self-gratification in a sense. Everybody just wants it to be wrapped up, and everybody wants an answer.
What do you mean by that?
Even if the family's crying, they're like, hey, we found justice. I'm like, damn, can we be sure though? Because the person that did it could just be chilling at home, like, whew, got away with it.
I'm trying to see whenever I was ever
And
had.
of course, you got an innocent person in jail. So these things, no, we have to be sure, okay? And there's so many mixed variables. I know you sitting at home don't know the answer. You don't know who did it. You can't be like for a fact, no, that person did it. No. But we could be of two minds. It looks very
No
suspicious on one
papa
hand,
today.
it's
We did
story
Whataburger.
on him, but also on the other
Go
hand,
watch the
we can also
video.
be a little patient and wait to see what happens, because we should find an answer to this one. If we don't find an answer to this one, y'all better believe them police down there need to be investigated. They all need to get fired. So
I do think it's interesting that Warren Hudson's mom or stepmother is a court judge in Mississippi.
So there was that too. I'm glad you brought that up, because that goes with the statement. It's something where it goes to people's thoughts. Okay, so this is entirely possible. It's entirely possible that she has something to do with this situation. She's a state judge, so she influences things that.
A chancery court judge in Mississippi.
A chancery court judge, so she could influence things and make it so the police don't get her son in trouble. But at the same time, she could have nothing to do with the situation. Genuinely. Okay, she genuinely could have nothing to do with
doing the block
situation.
party.
So
I'm
like
asking
that,
a question.
Put to the side.
What you mean?
I like
Stay
hard
safe.
facts. I like hard evidence. So things like that can be in the back of my mind, but and I hope you don't as well. I hope you don't let that influence your thoughts entirely, or even like a big amount. Oh yeah, there you go. I found the answer. His stepmom's a judge. So there we go. That's how he got away with it. Hold on. Slow down, because that could lead you down a rabbit hole. Like I tell Menda, like you when you build blocks, you got to make sure that the blocks under are stable. You can't build too many blocks on shaky ground. You know,
Solid foundation.
You need a solid foundation. That being said, don't make a quick judgment saying, oh, okay, so you're saying don't think about it. Whose side are you on? Because I've seen comments like that too. It's like, take a deep breath.
Nuance.
Okay. Nuance, yes. Add some nuance to this, okay? Evidence. That's all Zebby says. Zebby says you need absolute evidence. It can go either way. But see which way it goes before you give yourself too hard of an answer, okay? Anyway, you know what I wanted to mention? Dang, and this might be completely, I might be missing the statement that I was saying before. Anyway, let me... Blah, 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 blah. I want to mention this. Okay, let me mention this. All right, there was an audio recording. Okay, now remember we mentioned earlier in the story that the friends called the Mississippi building blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at you, man. You remember that? All right, remember earlier in the story, the friends called the Mississippi Department
to say that their vote was broken down.
Exactly. So the Mississippi Department of blah, 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 in fact, do you know what they're called? It's called like MSDO or something like that. They released a recording, and the recording had very, very distorted audio in the background, okay? And somebody by the name of...
MDMR, Mississippi Department of Marine Resources.
Oh, Marine Resources. Okay, so they're the boat people. All right, so they released a recording. They released a recording of the call that they had with the friends. And it's interesting because somebody in the recording is very distorted, but somebody named, I'm gonna get her name right, Janetta Brantley, she does audio engineering work on the video to enhance the quality a little bit, so you can hear background chatter going on. Okay, now Janetta Brantley herself says when you listen to the audio, listen with your own ears, okay? Because she has subtitles from what she believes she hears. But she says, listen with your own ears and then go ahead and listen with my subtitles. Okay, she says that because what's important is subtitles can influence what you hear. When I first listened to the audio, I couldn't hear anything at all. The next time I listened to it, when Janetta Brantley put a subtitle, it sounds really accurate to me. Like, that's what it sounds like is going on to me. There was let me say what it said first before I go on to this next thing. And it's basically like people like shouting out in the background, panicked, and they're saying, is he, like, oh my God, hell, you know, you did it, Brent. And they say somebody's name. What was one of the friends' names? Can you name the friends' names? Mm-hmm. What were their names? While you look at that, and there's like a girl in the back saying, "Oh my God, is he?" Like, people are like really freaking out, and someone's screaming, "Nolan! Like, Nolan, get up! Nolan, get up!" Oof. I want to put on the side real quick during Warren's interview. Remember the friend Warren, his interview with Officer. Remember, there's so many conflicting things. During Warren's interview with Officer Tatum, that Officer Tatum show thing, he was saying they were shouting at Nolan at one point to get the F on the ship. Now, he might have heard the audio recording and is trying to kind of cover up his statement there, saying, oh, there was, for the future, yeah, they were shouting, Nolan, but we were saying, Nolan, get the F on the boat. Because he says, my friend said, Nolan, get the F on the boat. And he corrects his statement there. And this is all just really interesting. It's stuff to note, okay? Again, so remember, in the audio recording that was enhanced, it says, Nolan, get the F up. All right, that's what Janetta Brantley believes was heard. And then during the interview show, because he must have heard that audio recording before, and during the interview show, he says, yeah, my friends are saying, Nolan, come on, we're leaving, get on the boat. And he wanted to stay with the girl, Katie. He said, Nolan, and then he stops, he corrects himself. He said, yeah. My friend specifically says, Nolan, get the F on the boat. Similar to what was heard in the audio.
God dang it. Whew.
What's good, Dad? What's good, man? About
Hello.
bro? See you about
Sure.
Hey, bro. That. Chat 2K. Keep pushing 2K.
Thanks for the taps. When you go see your family.